98, 99, 100. That's all of them.
Ah, sweet. You sleeving up a new commander deck?
Yeah. Well, no. Kind of. It's money.
What are you talking about?
Well, I found 101 cent coins because I wanted to see how many cents there are in 100% of a dollar.
Well, it's 100. Wait, can you see how this is not at all like sleeving up a commander deck?
Yeah, I know it's not a deck of commander cards, but I put a cent in each sleeve and now I can shuffle them and count them.
Why would you shuffle the coin? It's the same number.
Oh, yeah.
Where did you even find 100 cents? Didn't they stop making those in like the 90s?
Yeah, I've been trading for them. I got rid of all those cards on your table that you were going to throw away.
Well, those were going into some of my decks. There was a Chthonian Nightmare in there. See, this is exactly what I've been talking to the psychologist about. Explaining things to me before you make the decisions about my cards, my clothes, and passport. We still need to talk about that whole spaghetti smuggling incident thing, by the way.
Okay, I hear you. Let me explain. I'm going to shuffle these 100 sleeves, each of which has a 1 cent coin in it. I will deal an opening hand, see how many turns it takes for me to draw every card, subtract my opening 7, less if I mulligan it all, of course, and work out what a cent in a percent is as it relates to a dollar.
Well, that makes absolutely no sense.
I know, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. I don't need to make sense. But if I have 100 cents in cents, I'll make a dollar.
You're an idiot. Oh my god. 100 episodes.
100 times we've done a weird thing.
100 of those.
100 of those.
100 pure moments of real interactions between Walt and James caught on very expensive microphones.
Yep. It's honestly amazing that we've managed to do 100 of those and always in the exact vicinity of the microphone.
It's kind of crazy, yeah. It's almost like we planned them.
That's almost like that.
No, we didn't do any of that.
Silly James. Welcome to the Get Commanded podcast. It's the GCP brought to you by POG, Palms Off Gaming, sponsor of this podcast, where if a tree falls in the forest, whatever people might say, I heard it. I'm your host, Walt.
Wow, that's breaking some boundaries. Hello, Commander players. I'm too old for this shit. My name's James. What's going on?
That's
Howdy.
Reasonable as well.
At 100 episodes, yeah, straight up is
we're
reasonable.
Too old. And speaking of 100 episodes, we wanted to celebrate getting here, and we wanted to celebrate with all of you. So we're actually going to have 2 giveaways.
Yeah, we thought 100. We'll do one big giveaway, but then we realized how much stuff we have available to us. And we were like, screw it. 2 people are getting a bunch of prizes.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, honestly, Walt and I would not be here if it wasn't for you amazing listeners wanting us to be here. So we wouldn't have made 100 episodes if you weren't there to listen to them and engage in the conversation with us. So we want to give back to you all. So we got some absolutely stacked prizes. Like, seriously amazing.
You will not feel bad if you are first or quote second. Like
the second prize pool is like also just amazing.
Some of you might want to come second. So the first prize, you will receive a signed Get Commanded playmat. This is the same style of one that you might have seen some of us using on stream. This is one-off. We're not going to be making any more of these because a friend of ours made them for us.
It was a present from one of our friends.
And patrons, actually. Dylan Norg.
Yeah, shout out Dylan. We got our names imprinted on the bottom corner of 2 of them, but then Dylan made a blank one and he said, do with this what you will. And we were like, oh my God, it has to go to one of the listeners.
Absolutely. So with first prize, you will get a signed Get Commanded playmat. You will get a Palms Off Gaming Genesis deck box.
Shout out Palms Off Gaming.
Absolutely. And then me and James wanted to include a couple of cards from our own collection that we felt like represented us as Magic players. So you're giving away
I'm giving away like my favorite enhancer in pretty much any of my decks, which is Harmonic Prodigy. It's the one that doubles shamans and wizards
Yes.
triggered abilities. So
Very cool.
I will sign, and it's also the sketch art from Modern Horizons.
Oh, cool.
As well. So
Yeah.
I will be signing one of those,
Yes.
and including that in the first prize giveaway. And you're giving away, I think, quite a quintessential Walt soapbox moment from the podcast.
Yeah.
Anti-tutors.
It's it. I'm giving away an Avon Mind Sensor. I'll be
Couldn't
signing
be more
this.
against tutors.
I'll be signing this as well. You all know how much I hate tutors, so now you can hate tutors as well with Avon Mind Sensor. And we also have a foil Magic Fest 2023 Reliquary Tower. This is the one that was being given away at Command Fest when we attended there.
Beautiful full art, like real purple and dark
Yeah.
and mysterious. Really cool.
Very cool. And an Imaginary Friends Secret Lair, which was also donated by one of our community judges, Damien.
Yeah,
wanted
thanks,
to throw
Damien.
this in for us. So thanks, Damien.
And he also thought it was very thematic, like imaginary friends. There's Peer and Toothy in that set, and it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know which one of us is
Is
either.
Peer and which
I
is
might be the
Toothy.
Gitrog monster that's also in that secret lair.
I don't have so much lots of tooth so much as lots of gum.
Lots-
If there was gum imaginary friend, Gummy.
Gummy.
That's me.
Disturbing.
Gummy.
So that's the first prize. That's like
That's
who
all just first.
That's who we're going to pick for first, and you get all of that, which is crazy. But then we are going to do a secondary draw.
Yep.
And in the second place, we are going to be giving away one of the brand new Palms Off Gaming limited edition binders, specifically
Yeah.
the medium-sized one. And the medium-sized one is just enormous. 960 slots.
Bonkers. Absolutely
Ridiculous.
silly number of slots. All of the marketing for this that we've seen so far has been just making fun of how massive they are. They look amazing. They're black and gold.
Yeah, super like nice leatherette
Yep.
feel. They've got this like really like strong metal zip that's like feels super
Yeah.
premium. And these are limited. These are
Yep.
Palms Off Gaming did like one run of these. They're selling out pretty quick, but
Yep.
we've got one and we're going to give one to you as well. And
Absolutely.
also, Palms Off Gaming products, even more. We're going to give another Palms Off Gaming Genesis deck box away in the second prize.
Yeah.
And just to top it off, we'll throw in a non-foil Magic Fest 2023 Reliquary Tower as well.
Yeah, so that's just second. So as we said, like you might even just be looking for a binder and go, actually, I want to be second instead of first.
If we draw first place and contact you and you're like, I kind of like the binder, actually,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Happily substitute
We're
those
more than
around.
happy to switch them around.
Definitely. But to enter the giveaway, all you have to do is join our Discord server, which a lot of you already have, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
And follow us on just one of our social platforms. So to be clear, we're talking about Twitter, we're talking about Instagram, we're talking about TikTok. So if
And
you
if
follow
you
us...
really, really want to, you can follow us on Threads, but we don't really do much there.
No, don't recommend checking us out. There's really nothing on there. But yes, if you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, and you are in the Discord server, you will be in the entry for this giveaway. It'll close on the 16th of August, which is 2 weeks from when this episode comes out for all of you. So get in quick and make sure, you just are in the Discord server and following us on one of those social platforms and you'll be in the running.
And we'll announce the winners on our socials and in the Discord as well.
Yes.
But the Discord is going off. We are so close to 200 members. So this
Yeah.
giveaway should hopefully push us over 200 members
Yeah.
in our server.
Definitely.
It's an awesome place to hang out and we'd love more of you. So even if it's just to enter this competition, jump in and I'm sure you'll want to stick around afterwards.
Absolutely, you will. But we do, of course, have an incoming transmission.
For the 100th time.
From the deep depths of the galaxy, from the Space Commanders. It's time to get commanded.
Your broadcasts will now be denoted by 3 digits. A momentous occasion that calls for a celebration of memorable moments in the Commander format. For all games of Commander should be as memorable as your broadcasts. Kudos, Walt and James.
Sorry, did they just say kudos?
They're learning. They're learning, evidently.
They're like, to be honest, I didn't think the Space Commanders would be as sentimental as us.
No.
I kind of expected them to be like, right, anyway, 100 doesn't really matter, it's a number. Tell us why ramp on mana curves are important in Commander decks.
I thought they'd go the opposite way and do something really messed up to us. I thought they'd be like, all right, we're going to abduct you, we're going to
keep you here for 5 straight weeks until you build 900 Commander decks.
So yeah, very strange they decided to be a little bit nice. It is kind of out of character for them.
This broadcast fulfills only a fraction of your obligations. The meteor is almost within range.
Whoa.
A double command?
The meteor is almost in range?
I have literally no idea what they're talking about.
That I have no idea.
No.
I straight up no idea.
But almost within range sounds like maybe the next episode might be something to do with this meteor. So you'll definitely want to stick around for that one as well.
For sure, we'll let you know when we know.
Yeah.
We hope it's not a meteor coming to destroy the Earth or anything like that.
They've been like 100 broadcasts, 100 cards in a commander deck.
Now blow them up.
Blow up the Earth. We've learnt everything we need to.
All right, Commander's a great game. Kill them all.
That's the beginning of the end, boys.
Well, look, I guess we'll find out about the monthly meteor, but they initially wanted us to recount memorable moments of the Commander format because they did also say all Commander games should be memorable.
Yeah.
So I guess, should we approach this with like the line of, let's try and make everyone's games as memorable as ours, and how much, because we've had a lot of fun playing Commander over the years.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think probably we can look at the most memorable moments of the games of Commander that we've had.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, probably there'll be things in there that you can look at and go, oh, like I could make my games more memorable if I did something sort of like this in the games that I play.
Or even just look out for them when they happen, because, recognize, like in the last episode, we talked about, recognizing achievements within games. That was a big part of last week's episode.
Yeah.
This is kind of like taking a moment to take in the fact that you're having a great time playing the best game in the best way ever invented.
Definitely. And honestly, I'm stoked that the Space Commanders have given us an opportunity to just reminisce. It feels like an appropriate thing for the 100th episode. Just look back at the great games we've played.
Do maths on stats of our decks on this episode, which is nice.
No, we don't. We just get to talk about cool stories. I reckon we'll break these down into a few categories. I think there's like types of memorable things that happen in Commander.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon that'll be sort of our way of giving you advice. It's like, okay, this is the category. This is the cool thing that can happen. This is what some things that happen in our games.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how you can make this thing happen in your games as well.
Sure. What's like your first category then? What's like the...
I feel like there's a whole group of cards that I would say have a huge potential of working out and sometimes just do.
So it's like, these are kind of the scenarios of like Magical Christmas Land, right?
A little bit.
These are the really, really high ceiling, almost immeasurably high ceilings of cards.
Totally, but such a low floor often as well. They're kind of the big Timmy plays a lot of the time. And look, they're going to be, I think, memorable because these are cards that are usually too hopeful, right? Like, these are the kind of cards that, to be honest, even if me and James were looking at your deck, we might be like, that card would be fun if it was good.
You're living a pipe dream.
It's usually going to be bad. You should cut that and have cards that are more consistent. So yeah, when these cards actually work out, you really feel like the player earned it. It's like you played a card that it is dead in your hand 90% of the time for this 10% chance that it would be absolutely amazing, and you pulled it off.
But hey, that 10% chance is now, and you look like an absolute god.
You look like a genius for
Yeah.
having included this card, which the rest of us think you probably looked stupid for doing about a week ago.
Yeah, you were like the first person to realize, like, Shocklands were good.
Yeah,
or like the first person to realize, just like being on the, like, absolute pinnacle of what I thought this card could be happens in a game.
Absolutely.
I've got an actual example of this.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm going to shout out one of our patrons, Bottomless Potamus, best patron name still to this day.
Yes, agreed.
Bottomless Potamus subscribes to our Patreon in the tier where he can play games with us once a month, which is really cool.
Yep.
And every single one of our patron games are always so amazing. I think we'll probably reference a few of them in this episode.
I suspect we will.
But our last game with Bottomless Potamus Hippopotamus
I think I already know where you're going with this.
was absolutely insane. Keep in mind, Bottomless Potamus is from the States. So Walt and I had to wake up at the Cracker Sparrows to play this game. So it was first thing in the morning. And we had just a horrendous board state. Walt, firstly, to set the scene, had to go to work that day as well.
So we were trying to play decks that we thought would end the game fairly quickly. So I was on Rith the Awakener, my new Naya tokens list. You were on Savine, the Chronoclasm, which is a deck that could just kind of win out of nowhere in the right board state. Because we were trying to bring the game to an end. So I think I had like 2 land. I think I had an Emeria Angel, landfall, make a bird. But I also had I'm blanking. The 4-mana enchantment, make a cat beast or put a +1 counter on stuff.
Retreat to Emeria?
No.
Escape to something?
What is that card? You all know remember. It. The 4-mana white landfall enchantment makes a cat, puts a +1 counter on everything. I had both of those things and I was ramping with land. So I had all these tokens and I was going to make them bigger every turn.
And not only was I facing down that, I was also facing down Bottomless Potamus's deck, which was an Ognus deck, which is the Jund, super aggro,
haste
super quick.
When a creature with haste attacks, you create a tapped treasure token.
Yeah, kind of insane. And definitely brought we need to play a quick one? Sure, I'll bring this deck to the table.
I'll bring literal haste.
Yeah, literal haste to the table. So it was kind of just one of those situations where I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to win this game. So I'm going to kind of go down a line which has a very low chance of doing anything relatively good, but a very high chance of winning me the game on the next turn.
This is that high ceiling thing we were talking about.
I was absolutely rolling the dice on it. So I cast a Swords to Plowshares. And then
Path to Exile.
Path to Exile,
Path to Exile,
Path to Exile, that's right, because that's really relevant.
It is.
I remember that.
That's why I responded. Yep.
So I cast a Path to Exile, and I was targeting something. I think I was targeting the Urabrask that was on the Haste board over on
one of the hasty
Potamus's.
things, yeah.
Because he was right after me, and I was like, okay, gotta stop that first.
Yep.
And then I held priority and cast Increasing Vengeance from my graveyard at a flashback cost, targeting the Path to Exile. This is a copy spell that when you flash it back, it copies something twice. So I was going to get rid of 3 things. I passed priority on that.
One of them was targeting my Emeria Angel.
Yeah, so once I'd found the other targets, like I'd copied it, I'd selected my targets and gone, right, well, your Emeria Angel is the key one that I want to get rid of on your board. I'm passing priority. They're my targets. What does everyone want to do?
So my thinking, I had a March of the Multitudes in my hand.
Yeah.
Which is the one with Convoke, makes a bunch of soldiers. My thinking was, I'm about to get a land out of my deck from Path to Exile. I can put a +1 counter on every creature from the landfall trigger on, again, I'm blanking on the name.
The retreat to...
you got
to Google it.
I'll bring it up at some point later. But the enchantment would put a +1 counter on my creatures. So I was like, now's the best time for me to make all my tokens.
Because you just spew out a bunch of tokens, and then the Path to Exile resolves, gets the land.
Yep.
+1 on all of them.
And then
crazy value.
I've basically got a winning board state or very close on my next turn.
Yeah.
So I responded to the targeting of the Emeria Angel with Mulch of the Multitudes. I tapped out. I tapped all my creatures. I was making like 10 1/1 soldiers with lifelink or something like that.
And not only that, our other opponent, Alex, also was like, I got to respond to this as well. So cast a Factor Fiction in response. And with all of that on the stack, I cast Display of Power. This is the one red and a red for an instant that says it can't be copied, which is probably for good reason, and says copy any number of target instant or sorceries on the stack. So my brain was like, okay, if I can just copy the Swords to Plowshares again.
Path to Exile.
Path to Exile.
Yep.
Very, very relevant because of the landfall trigger. If I could just copy the Path to Exile multiple more times, I just get a bunch of exile effects, and then I should just clear the board with exile effects and just swing out and win the game.
Yep.
It got so much better because then Walt put an instant or sorcery on the stack that made a bunch of tokens. There was a Fact or Fiction on the stack, which would get me more cards.
Yep.
This was absolutely one of those moments where I was like, didn't expect it to go like this. I cast Display of Power, and everyone was like, and then the stack was, I got my classic Infinity tokens out to represent the stack in order, and it was like, as long as my playmat is diagonal.
Yeah,
like, it was crazy.
Absolutely silly. Oh, and for reference, you had, I think it was what's the one that makes 1/1 blue birds? Murmuring Mystic.
Murmuring Mystic.
You had a Murmuring Mystic as well. So each of these spells you were casting it's not Magecraft, so it was only the spells you cast that did this, but you still had like a bunch of birds. But yeah, what ended up happening is we resolved the stack. You obviously, Fact or Fiction, you've got a bunch of cards. You made a bunch of tokens from me because you copied my March of the Multitudes. It remembers the X cost, remember? So he had like 10 1/1s.
That was a good ring.
Did all the Path to Exile, so he still removed a bunch of stuff. Oh, you Path to Exile 3 more things.
Yes, because I copied all
you
the
copied
Path to Exiles
all
on the
the things
stack.
on the stack.
Yep.
So yeah, we ended up getting back around to James's turn, and you just won, right?
It was kind of cracked. I believe I won that game. There was I have a very strong memory of
definitely
that
won.
turn, and I think it was the following turn that I won.
I think you won because I remember, because it wasn't even your turn at the time that you cast the Path to
No,
Exile.
this
You
was
responded
on
to something else.
This was on Bottomless Potamus's turn.
Yeah, I
it
think
was
you're
like
right.
in response to moving to combat, I was like, all right, I got to stop this haste shit going on.
Anyway, I did a big silly. James had flyers, and I was at like 6. And so he literally just swung his like 2 flyers at me, which became 3 ones to kill me, and then just had all these soldiers, which you made big. I think you had Balmor.
Yes,
you had
it was
Balmor.
Balmor,
You
that
cast
was
like
right.
3 spells into Balmor, and then just had like 20
there was
power
also
trample.
another level of deepness to this, because one of the things that you convoked to cast March of the Multiverse was
My
birds.
flyers.
It was you had birds
I
to block with.
Hugely misplayed, because
Yeah.
I think literally before any of this had resolved, I was already dead in the air.
That's
like literally, if I looked at your board and just went, if James just swings these flies at me, I'm dead. I should have been like, do not, because also I could have done March of the Multitudes just a lot less greedily
Yeah.
on your end step.
But
and
you
had
wanted
everything
that 6
untapped.
synergy of like the
Yeah.
path resolving, getting you the
But it was
thing.
too greedy, because
Yeah.
literally I could have looked at your board and been like, I'm lethal on board. But
Yeah.
anyway, just the display of power here, absolute MVP. It's a card that reads well, but occasionally reads absolutely insane, and this was one of those times.
Most of the time, it's a 3-mana fork. Like, it just
Yep.
copies one thing.
Yep.
But, like,
Sometimes.
sometimes, and in front of a Patreon.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Feels
it when
good.
they do that.
The card was Felidar Retreat, by the way.
Felidar
I don't know
Retreat.
why I didn't remember that. It's an absolute staple of the format. But
Absolute staple. But yeah, it's great.
Another classic card with a huge potential of working out. This was a game I played actually without you, a very rare James-less Walt game.
Where was I?
I know. No idea. At my house, I was playing Gandalf, my absolute fave. I'd cast a Mere Battlesphere. I think I had Mirror Works. So I think I made a token copy of Mere Battlesphere and then made 16 Mir or whatever the stupid number of it is.
Correct.
Sick. Great
Yep.
turn. Was stoked. Was like, next turn, maybe I win.
Wildly, that happens quite often in Gandalf, though. So that's not the impressive bit, I imagine.
No.
Okay.
So what then happened was I passed the turn, and the other 2 players were like, oh man, how on earth do we deal with Gandalf? They were all umming and ahhing about it. Nobody answered it. It got around to Jordan, our friend Jordan,
Great Magic player.
who was going before me, but before his turn, so on the end step of the player before Jordan, he cast Rite of Replication, kicked.
Oh.
I fully forgot that Rite of Replication does not say creature you control. So for reference, this is the card. It's a 4-mana instant, I believe. It says, create a token that's a copy of target creature.
I think the kicker cost is like 5 or 6.
I think it's 5. I think you pay 9 mana altogether to kick it. If you kick it, you make 5 token copies of it instead. Jordan just made 5 token copies of my Mere Battlesphere.
Oh my
So
God.
he got, ironically, even more Mir than I did, even with my doubled ETBs.
Well, because he would have. How many times did he copy it?
He would have copied. He got 5 of them, and there was 4 Mir each. So you got 20 Mir.
Whoa.
He just went to combat, swung 1 Mir Battlesphere
And
at
tapped
me, tapped like
24 Mir, because you can tap the Mir Battlesphere.
You
to
could
one of
theoretically,
it.
but he
That's
didn't
funny.
need to. I think I was at 10. I think he just attacked with Mir Battlesphere, tapped 10, and then sent all the other Mir Battlespheres at everybody else. And then I died, and this is a classic case of token copies being better than theft effects. If he had my Mir Battlesphere and I died, obviously the card is exiled with me.
Yeah, true. It leaves the game with you.
But he had a token copy of it, so it did not matter at all. He's copied the Mir Battlesphere. I die. My tokens go away. He keeps his Mir Battlesphere.
There's honestly a really good explanation of why clone decks, like decks that are built around clone effects, are really fun and entertaining, because they do the busted thing that someone else is doing.
Yeah.
But they could typically, on most of the time, do it twice, 3 times,
Yeah.
4 times, 5 times.
Exactly.
It's really cool and entertaining to watch.
Absolutely.
Was it the Anima clones deck that he was playing?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That list is great.
Jordan believes so strongly that Animar is too strong of a card that he even plays a very down-powered version of Animar.
Incredibly down-powered.
just-
Completely rewrote it.
Yep, straight up a different card.
Yep.
Just to make it more fair. But yeah, if you can pay 9 mana and copy someone's thing, I say go for it.
Yeah,
So
good job.
Props to Jordan. It was hopeful, but he pulled it off.
And also, it's again one of those situations where that couldn't happen without your mere battlesphere.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
I can't feel too bad about it.
No.
I showed him the way he won.
yes.
I think it might be good in each of these categories to recommend the way to go about playing these kinds of things in the game. So I think I'm going to say probably what I recommend for playing these cards with huge potential.
Yeah, the magical Christmas land cards.
Don't play too many of them. And also I'll say don't be too hopeful. Like, these cards definitely are cards that require certain board states or certain stacks in the case of Display of Power to work, but the requirements are kind of reasonable. It's not like Glorious Gale.
Glorious Gale.
Glorious Gale is an instant from Lord of the Rings set for 1 and a blue. It says counter target creature spell. If it was legendary, the ring tempts you.
Oh, like super unbelievably narrow.
Extremely narrow. Like, yes, it's technically Essence Scatter with upside, you know, if you want. But, I mean, you're only countering a creature spell, and only if it's legendary is the ring tempting you. Like, that's such a narrow board set in which that card is good.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, whereas Display of Power, you know...
is good in a Spellslinger deck.
Yeah, and Rite of Replication, if in a clones deck, you're doing clones anyway. Like, you want that card regardless.
I think probably on top of that as well is pilot with Magical Christmas Land in mind. Like, especially like in that situation that I was explaining with Display of Power.
Yeah.
I was holding it going, yeah, okay, there is like a world where this is good.
Yeah.
But I am going to pass priority here because there's a world in which this is great and amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of approach to piloting these cards opens the door just a little bit wider for Lady Luck to come in and make it happen. So if you play it at its floor, you've played it at its floor.
Yeah.
But if you play as if it could happen, especially cards at instant speed, especially cards that have instant speed interaction, because you can pass it and then your opponents can do something which could lead to the magical Christmas land we're hoping for.
Yeah.
But playing with the idea of it could.
Yeah.
It could.
Just be a little hopeful sometimes in your thinking. Because, like, for instance, you know, the way priority works, if you just cast Path to Exile and what's the Increasing Vengeance on top of it, and you pass priority and no one made any actions, you don't get priority again. You can't Display of Power before that thing resolves. So you were literally foregoing the floor of the action that you were taking, which was making a bunch of copies of this thing, and going, if anyone does anything else, this card becomes infinitely better.
Yeah, and look, to be honest, it was kind of priority bullying by me as well.
A little bit,
because I knew I could have copied the 3 Path to Exiles on the stack already, but I passed priority, and at my level of like, okay, I will reclaim priority when the first path resolves and then Display of Power to get 2 extras.
Yeah.
Because if I pass, and if I'm passing on this and no one's doing anything, they've not got anything. That's like my insight to that's what I could do. This is probably CEDH mindset coming into casual a bit. But the fact I passed and kind of made you knee-jerk reaction into a response, made Alex knee-jerk reaction, was like, oh yeah, cool, even better.
Yeah. I was not going to March of the Multitudes then. At all. I was going to do it on your end step, like a sensible person.
Yeah.
But I jumped the gun, and then you absolutely benefited from that. So yeah, sometimes it's good to just have a little bit, that little thought in the back of your head of going, this might not be like the absolute, you know, floor of this.
Yeah.
But it could be so good.
And it will make a moment you'll never forget.
Absolutely.
Like that Patreon game was nearly a month ago now.
Yeah, and
it's
we
so
remember
clear in my mind.
Every card on the board state, just about.
It was great.
The next category of thing that I think becomes memorable, this is one that I personally play a lot of because I just love it so much. Randomness.
Yeah, we love randomness.
Randomness, when you literally have no idea what is going to happen. Sometimes truly astronomically rare and incredible things will happen.
Well, there is just like statistics are down to it. So like if you get a board state or something happens and you go, oh my God, let me calculate the chances, like the statistical chances of that happening.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, there was less than 0.5% chance that would occur. You go, wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you can't feel bad about something, even something randomly happening that is so bad for you. You still tend to be like, Well, none of us planned this. I can't feel angry about this.
Yeah, what is it that the Game Nights crew say? The Lords of Chaos?
Yeah, the Lords of Chaos.
It's absolutely all up to them.
It's not, we had no say in the matter whatsoever.
I have a very vivid memory from like the really early days of our Commander. Are you remembering what story
I think I know
I'm
the
talking
one
to
you're
here?
going to say.
This is really early in our Commander days, so our decks were like very not tuned. Like
No.
they were absolutely not kind of ready for this kind of play style or this kind of story. But
No.
effectively what happened in the midst of lockdown, when we were locked away in Melbourne, unable to go anywhere, we were playing a lot of Commander at the kitchen table, and one of the members in our little play group house shared prison that we were in for that time was playing a Joda deck. And this is the Joda that was before Joda the Unifier, which pumps all legendaries. This was the Jeskai one that you could cast anything for Wooburg from your hand.
White, blue, black, red, green, and it just replaces the mana cost of the spell with that. You can cast an 11 drop, a 12 drop, whatever, for white, blue, black, red, green if you have Joda on the battlefield.
So the whole deck strategy is just get Joda out and have 5 colored pips available to you in mana.
And any great commander spell in your hand, and you will cheat the cost entirely.
You want to be casting like Nyx Bloom Ancient. You want to be casting Eldrazi and all this kind of stuff. So look, I think it was turn 4. The Joda player had ramped by 1 or something like that. And there was a moment where the Joda player could either cast Joda or cast a spell in their hand. And it's very rare for a Joda player not to cast Joda and cast the thing in their hand, because 99% of the time the things in their hand are enormous and probably don't cost 5 mana.
It's usually right to ramp into Joda as fast as you can so that you can cheat on that huge spell in your hand as fast as possible. But yes, in this one rare case,
it was a weird moment where they kind of went, okay, instead of casting Joda, and we were all like, instead of casting Joda, what?
Are you feeling okay?
Are you okay? They cast Unexpected Results. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, I can't remember how this card is worded. I know it's a Simic card. You've got it?
I've got it pulled up. It's a bizarre card. For 2 green and a blue, you'll get a sorcery. Shuffle your library, then reveal the top card. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost.
Yep.
If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield and return unexpected results to its owner's hand. So in typical Simic value fashion, no matter what, you get something. Either you get unexpected results back and you ramp for some reason.
You cast a free rampant growth.
Yep.
Almost.
Or sometimes you can entirely cheat on a spell. And obviously in the Joda deck, yes, ideally you cast the spell you know is in your hand, but sometimes with unexpected results, you might flip something off the top.
Especially if you've got like 30 cards that are 8 and more mana.
Yep.
Anyway, the crazy thing about unexpected results is it shuffles your library first. So there's no way of like manipulating the top and getting it. It has to shuffle, then reveal a random card.
And there's no time for you to interrupt this and brainstorm or something. It's all one effect. You don't get any priority. It's random. You've got no say in the matter.
So it is exactly what it says on the tin.
Yep.
It's going to be unexpected results.
Yep.
So they cast unexpected results, and off the top, they flipped into Omniscience, which is just like probably the single best card that you could possibly flip into, because then now you can cast anything from your hand for free.
So this is the 10 mana blue enchantment. Yeah, it says exactly that. You can cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost.
And guess what spell was in their hand? Only Enter the Infinite, which is
a 12 mana sorcery, I believe, that says draw cards equal to the number of cards in your library, then put a card from your hand on top of your library, exile, Enter the Infinite. So you just draw your library effectively.
Also one of my favorite pieces of flavor text on a card ever.
Yep. Why have one idea when you could have all of them? Quote, Niv Mizzet Perun.
Yeah.
Such a good one. So yes, they then cast Enter the Infinite for free, drew their library, and they had a Jace Wielder of Mysteries in their deck. So they played it, upticked it, milled the last card, drew a card from their empty library, and because of Jace Wielder of Mysteries, won the game. It was turn 4.
It was all off a card that was like unexpected. The card was called Unexpected Results, and the result that we got was not the one we were expecting.
No.
It was winning the goddamn game.
You could not feel bad about it. We were just so gobsmacked. It was hilarious.
It was also like, I think very vividly, it was like the first game of Commander we played that night. It was right after after I finished work.
Yep.
And I'd like closed my computer,
Yep.
shuffled around the dining room table to where my computer wasn't to the commander space and was like, right, let's do this, gang. Let's shuffle up and play. And it was just like, okay, should we play again?
Yeah, we fully just played another game,
Yeah.
but we were in hysterics.
Crazy.
Like literally,
It's like one out of however many cards are in their library.
Yeah.
At the time,
I don't-
shuffled, flipped onto that.
because like
Crazy.
even if they had Enter the Infinite in their library and instead flipped that, they didn't have any mana left. They couldn't have then cast Jace Builder of Mysteries and won the game. Like I think. From what I understand of that, I remember of that deck, I think only Omniscience off the top won them the game that turn.
And only Omniscience off the top with Enter the Infinite
Yeah.
in hand.
It's
That was like
doubly
the only
rare.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It
So
was-
funny.
It was straight up a moment where it was like they figured it out. They were like, "Oh, I have Enter the Infinite.
Yeah.
Jason's
win?
in my I just win."
I win?
And all of us were like, And I actually remember there was a great moment where we were like, surely that can't be how it happened. Surely you can't win that quickly. This is Commander, not Modern. Like,
And we were so early, like no one was winning even close to turn 4
no,
at the time.
our wins were like on turn 16 back then.
Yep. Unless you were
Crazy.
playing the Cullen deck, that was probably the only way to bring the game.
Yep.
To an end.
That
any
definitely
sooner.
worked back then.
But yeah, so funny,
Crazy.
unbelievable,
And all off the back of randomness.
well, exactly. And yeah, I actually have, funnily enough, another random event and another flip off the top.
I do love cards that just, and especially cards that just say like Chaos Warp kind
Yeah.
of things, and you just pass the person in the deck and be like, "You choose the fate, cut
Yeah,
the deck."
I love
Tell me
Love
what
that.
cards on top.
And I was playing in this game my commander, who effectively Chaos Warps. I was playing Vevictus as Marty.
Yeah, so when this attacks, this basically casts Chaos Warp for every player at the table.
Effectively. You don't shuffle your library, but yeah, you choose a permanent for each player. Everyone sacks those permanents and flips a card off the top. If it's a permanent card, you put it on the battlefield.
So your deck is full of permanents to take
Yep.
advantage of this.
Yep, and
you're
full of
hoping-
goblins to sacrifice, so that I always sacrifice something good, and you blow up the best permanent and everyone else's board.
Yeah,
every
and
time.
you're hoping that everyone else's permanent counts are lower, so they're probably
Yeah.
not going to get as much value.
Yeah, and yeah, that they're the thing you target of theirs that's really good is a lot better than the 1/1 goblin token that you
Yes.
have. Anyway, this is a particular game we were playing. We decided to play a Jund off.
Oh, this was I heard about this game.
Yes.
Another game I wasn't
I
part
know.
of.
It's
You're
they are
having
rare.
more fun without me, is what I'm finding out.
More random things happen without you, maybe. Less control over them.
That's true.
Anyway, it was a Jund off. So everyone was playing Jund. I was playing Victor Says Marty. There were 3 other Jund decks at the table.
When in doubt, Jund them out.
Yep, so I was doing the typical Jund thing, making everyone sack their best thing. I was flipping off the top. We flipped all of the things. Daniel flipped into a permanent in his deck. Funnily enough, this card has the word Jund in the name, so he clearly won the Jund off. Karthus, Tyrant of Jund.
Oh, this is another one of the Elder Dragons, right?
It's a very old dragon card in Jund that says, it's already funny for him to flip a Jund card off the Jund off, but this card says, when it enters the battlefield, gain control of all dragons.
Oh no, your Vevictus deck.
My Vevictus deck is a goblin deck, but it does notably play one dragon, of course being the dragon in the command zone, the Elder Dragon, Vevictus Asmardi. So
which is
with-
probably one of the best dragons on the table at the time.
and the best card in my deck, just casually. So yeah, he flipped it off the top. I was in attacks. I didn't even get to finish my combat step because he just
no.
gained control of Vevictus Asmardi. Look, I was pretty salty. Like I was like, this is awful for me. But I was like, how can I feel bad? I literally made
there
this
was a
happen.
card that said gain control of all dragons.
It wasn't even being played for that reason. The card just says dragons have haste. That's why he played it in the deck.
So he was playing. Oh, so there's like other text on that card
Yeah,
that he's
he
playing it
wasn't.
for.
He was fully not silver bulleting me by being
Wow.
like, "Oh, pull out my Tyrant of Jund,
I
Karthus."
thought you guys had like arranged the Jund off, and he was like,
Nope.
"Oh, Walt's playing a dragon deck. I'll slip this
I'll
in."
slip this in. Nope, he just fully flipped the only card in his deck, I suspect, that would let him take control of Vevictus Asmardi.
friggin' way.
I never got it back.
Awesome.
I don't think I ever got it back for the rest of the game. I think I just tried to play without Vevictus in my Vevictus deck.
To be honest, he had every right to leave your house with the card physically. He owns it now.
It's,
That's his card now.
He Junded me out.
Junded it out.
He did the Jund
He was in
off.
doubt, so he Junded you out.
Exactly right. You got to do it to him. You know, I had to do it to him.
Had to do it to him.
Had to do it to him
With
anyway.
the T-pose.
Yeah,
thing.
that's it.
Had to do it to him.
what do we recommend for playing randomness? I'm going to say don't be too random.
Yeah, chaos and randomness are two very different things in my mind.
I think that the line I'm drawing in the sand is the difference between single use, single target. Maybe not single use because Victus is not this, but
Sure.
Single target, it's going to randomize one thing at a time. These kind of effects, I would say, are generally more fun than, for instance, Possibility Storm.
Oh, well, that just, straight up, you can't do what you plan on doing.
Nope,
because,
ever.
even with, a chaos warp, right?
Yeah.
Chaos warp, you target the thing. You say, that thing is at least going away.
Yep.
And look, I've heard many stories of people shuffling the thing from chaos warp into their decks, cutting the deck, and revealing the same card again.
It can happen.
It can happen, but at least I'm targeting this. The chances of them getting this back are low, so you're still doing something. Whereas, Possibility Storm...
You just don't do anything.
You just don't do what you plan on doing.
For reference, this is the card where when a player casts a spell, you exile it instead of putting it on the stack or doing anything with it, and you reveal cards on top of your library until you reveal a card that has the same...
Shares the same type.
Shares the same type.
Yeah.
So you cast an instant, you reveal off the top till you hit an instant. You cast that spell instead. The other spell goes on the bottom of your library, I believe. So yeah, every card does, instead of doing what it does a random other thing. Generally, we don't find these effects very fun because now the game is about basically random number generation instead of being what it is. But yeah, these single-use, single-target things where one random thing happens one time are fun. Think of Reality Shift.
Oh, that's
right?
the one. It manifests the top
Manifest
card.
the top card of your library. So it's
so it exiles... It's a blue exile target creature, and then the creature's controller manifests the top card of their library.
Yep, so it's a 2/2 creature, it's face down, it has no other text on it, except that if it's a creature card, you can flip it up anytime for its mana cost. So sometimes they get something fun and weird out of it.
Yeah.
But it's not, doing that to everything.
I'd also recommend when you're, piloting as well, to really put the kind of... To make it memorable, you can go, okay, I cast Chaos Warp, you shuffle that in, yep, you reveal the top, okay, cool, you got to land. Instead of doing that, something to make it more memorable is be like, all right, guys, I'm going to cast Chaos Warp. Anything could happen.
Yeah.
Try and build up the hype a little bit.
Build the narrative of it.
I think even, because especially if someone's, especially in that Jund pod, right? Everyone's in Jund. There's going to be some scary creatures in everyone's deck.
Totally.
Chaos warping something and then giving the opponent an opportunity to maybe reveal the best thing in their deck could be pretty scary. You could be like, oh, guys, I know that this person runs a Galter, 12/12 trample in their deck. Hope we don't get that. Or an Ulamog off the top or something like that. Kind of build this hype around the table, because even if the result isn't as amazing and it is just like a Rakdos signet hits the table, at least you've created an energy and a bit of a vibe at the table. And if something does result of that, you hyped it up, and it's going to be even more exciting when it happens.
Just literally speculating, starting the Chaos Warp thing happening. Obviously, people have to shuffle and everything first. So there's a moment here. Just starting the conversation of going, what's the worst thing we can flip here?
Yeah.
Means that if something like that happens, you've kind of primed the table for it. It's not like, whoa, what the hell? It's like, oh my God, you called it.
In the words of a very famous alien, it's anticipation.
Beautiful. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
We've got lots of great stories of Commander games to talk about still, but I reckon it might be time for a thrifty interlude.
A thrifty interlude. Well, after 100 episodes, not all of which have included thrifty interludes, but they've been memorable every single time. So I can't wait to make another memory with this thrifty interlude.
Well, we're going to hear a little something about a thrifty card. And as is tradition, I will be performing. And this week, it's the Cowled Merchant with some new wares. James, do you want to read the card we're featuring this week?
Yeah, peddling a whole ass mountain in this one. It's Valakut Exploration. Super underplayed card, I will say. This card is cracked. Just listen to this. 2 and a red for an enchantment. It's already good because it's red. It's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. At the beginning of your end step, if there are any cards exiled with Valakut Exploration, put them into their owner's graveyard. Then Valakut Exploration deals that much damage to each opponent.
Ever want to just climb up high? Like rock climbing, but with more risk? Then welcome to the Flaming Mountain. There are igneous rocks, boulders, stones, pebbles, silt, stones, and rocks, and some of them are in liquid form. Lava! Everything is a liquid when it's hot enough, except Harry Styles. I've never understood that. Don't take Harry with you to the volcano. He'll really hate it. Again, you can't sing. It's too smoky down here, hot pants. That's why you always squint like that. We're all learning. And now I'm going to leave you behind, Harry, and you, audience. You'll only slow me down, and I'm on the way to the top, where they hide the beans. Get budgeted.
Harry Styles now canon in the Thrifty universe. Yes.
Hot Pants, I believe his name is, according to the Cal.
Harry Hot Pants.
Harry Hot Pants. Thrifty Thursdays happens every week in our Discord server. You can check out the dedicated channel, play some games, get some advice on your latest deck, and of course,
enter that competition.
Enter that giveaway.
Yeah, so you can enter that giveaway and read whatever the fuck that was. My favorite thing to do now with Thrifty Thursdays is try and read it in the voice of the cowed merchant. Like, actually imagine. And then I get the honor of sitting here next to you and watching you perform. But yeah, every Thrifty Thursdays that comes out now, I'm like, how does this perform? What is this like on a stage?
I actually perform it as I write it. I
have heard that. Electra has said before sometimes that she'll just like hear you mumbling to yourself in the corner.
Even if it's quietly, I'm like testing timing and I read sentences, and I think it's kind of my inner stage writer.
You're writing for a performance now.
I'm writing for performance.
100% writing for performance.
We've done so many of them, they're not really written form anymore. They're kind of scripts, which are funny when you read them, but are also kind of to be read out loud.
But every Thursday in the Discord.
Yep, you got to check it out.
Get back to
we should get
memorable commander moments.
Memorable commander moments. This next category is going to sound kind of weird. Narrow answers.
Oh, see, okay, I want to make a real clear distinction because I know exactly what you're going for here. Like the cards that just like, you wouldn't expect it, but it was the one card that could possibly solve this scenario.
Yeah. They actually recently on Command Zone did a whole draft of what they called gotcha cards.
Yeah, love gotcha cards.
I would say that this is the gotcha thing. So we're not talking about like heroic intervention or like Teferi's protection. These I would not say are narrow answers. They're broad answers, and they're also things you kind of expect. But these are things that sort of cards that respond or answer something on the board, but not generically good ways, like Counterspell or those other cards that I highlighted. They sort of require a particular sort of board state or situation to be strong in.
Yeah, and I also want to make a distinction as well that these are not silver bullets either. Because silver bullets honestly make for really forgettable moments of Commander for me.
They do.
Like that you do it and it's memorable for the sake of being almost infamous. It's like, I hated that moment. We're not going for memorable in the way of like making someone look back on a memory of Commander and go, ew, I hate that.
I guess you'd remember how much you hated it. But no, it's not the kind of memory we want to induce.
Because like, for example, I used to play Stigma Lasher against you back in the day when you used to play your life gain deck.
If it dealt combat damage to me, I could never gain life for the rest of the game, and that was not a good time.
Yeah, you remember them though, but in a very negative light. But we're not going for that. We're going for like moments that one card answered in a unique, particular way. And I actually have a perfect story for this.
Yeah?
I was in a game, setting the scene here, I was playing my Scarab God deck. This was a really early iteration of Scarab God. This is way before the Innistrad, return to Innistrad
bunch
stuff.
More zombies were made in the zombie precon.
Midnight Hunt.
Midnight Hunt, Will Help precon had a bunch of really, like, Necro Duality. No.
Yeah, Necroduality.
I was thinking of Necropotence and the new
Necrodominance.
Necrodominance
is the one you're thinking of.
There's a lot of necros out there.
There's a lot of necromantic shit and magic. Who would have thought it?
No way.
But yeah, I was playing that deck well before all the upgrades. One of my opponents, and huge shout out, one of my favorite people to play Magic against, Ben.
Great games against Ben, always.
Always. And if you're ever on the Discord, Ben does play Spell Table on our Discord every now and then. So good person to flag down for a game.
If you ever want to lose a game of CDH, highly recommend queuing a game with Ben.
So he's got like a 50% win rate right now, and it's kind of crazy. Anyway, Ben, the amazing pilot, was playing a Kadena Slinking Sorcerer deck.
Which, by the way, still exists, and he played on stream recently.
Oh, you're so right. It's
very different to what it was back then.
What it used to be. But
it used to be much closer to the pre-con, right?
Yeah, and it used to be a lot more powerful in the sense of like it was doing multiple things, not just one. Because now it's a Umori deck where it's all creatures.
All creatures. It's carrying back custom creatures at flash speed, making them cheaper. We should explain. Cadena's Slinking Sorcerer is the Sultai Morphs precon that came out in 2019, I want to say. 2018. That basically, morph spells. The first face down spell you cast each turn costs 3 less, so you basically get a free morph a turn. And the first time a morph, when a face down creature enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card.
Yeah, it'd be fair if it said for the first time each turn.
It does not say that.
But it doesn't say that. It just says whenever it enters, you draw a card. It's crazy. Anyway, Ben was on that deck. Yep. I can't even remember the other decks at the table.
It doesn't matter.
Honestly,
for the sake of this story,
matter.
It does not matter.
Someone's playing Timna or someone's playing something else. I don't know. But there was it was an absolute slugfest of a game. I remember that firstly. Like, it was a really long, like near 2-hour length game.
Yep.
And I had a Command the Dreadhorde in my hand. And it was on my turn, and I was like, right, I'm going to like go in the tank, do some maths here. Because Command the Dreadhorde is the mass reanimation spell.
Yep, but you importantly lose life equal to the total mana value of the creatures that you bring back from your graveyard. Or graveyards in general.
Any graveyard.
So yeah, there's a lot of maths involved where it's like you want to try and get as much as you can to win.
Without going too low.
If you go too low, you might die. And
so risks. Naturally, I'm in a zombie deck, so I have a Grey Merchant of Asphodel in my graveyard, which is like a target to reanimate. That's probably one of them. So there's 5 life. I did a bunch of other math, found out that I can go all the way down to, I'm not joking, 1 life, all the way down to 1 life. And if I had Gary enter as part of that, there is enough devotion on my board to win the game. So
Grey Merchant would check like 12 devotion or 20 devotion or something. Yeah. Everyone takes 20, you gain 60. Doesn't even matter about the game. Your life, you just win.
I just win the game. So I did it all to 1, and I was like, oh my God, guys, this is the moment. You ready? I was like properly like on my high horse. Like, watch me win this game of Commander. Cast it, paid the life, everything entered, and I was like, right, then I have a bunch of ETB triggers, but the only one that matters is Gary. It's going to see, and Ben was like, whoa, hold your horses there, cowboy. I have a response, and I'm like, sorry. I'm the guy that does the in-response thing, and he's like, no, I've got a response. And he had at the time, I think it might have been Yeva, Nature's Herald.
Sure.
Or not Yeva. No, because that's green creatures.
Maybe the Teferi? Maybe the Teferi Mage of Zelfir or whatever gives creatures flash.
Potentially something like that.
Something that gave creatures flash.
He could cast creatures at flash speed. And the creature that he cast at flash speed that I did not see coming was Ixodron.
I will be pulling this up. This is a very, very strange old Magic card, and we need to know what it actually does.
I think it's like 5 mana, but get the whole card up. Read it for
3 blue, it's a creature illusion. Ixodron, it's a star. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of face-down creatures on the battlefield. But the really important line of text is, as Ixodron enters the battlefield, turn all other non-token creatures face down, in brackets, they're 2/2 creatures.
So, rewinding the tape just a little, I had my Grey Merchant of Asphodel trigger on the stack. So he's
not responded to the Command the Dreadhorde. He's like, that's resolved.
He's let me pay all the life into Command the Dreadhorde. So I'm at 1 life right now.
Yeah.
Grey Merchant of Asphodel's trigger is on the stack. Now, for those that are uninitiated, the ability on the stack is saying, right, I'm about to check to see how much devotion you have, and then at the same time, drain the table for that devotion and gain you life. It does not take a picture of the board and say, when I resolve, I'm doing this.
No, it's looking at the time that the effect resolves. So when Ben is responding right now, devotion has not been decided upon.
No. So all my creatures turn face down, like Ixodron says it does.
Yep.
Then we go to the Gary trigger, the Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Let's see how much devotion. I'm not sure if you know this about Magic cards, but when they're face down,
there's no devotion.
Don't have any mana value to check. So I resolve my Gary trigger, drain everyone for a health. I actually think I had 2 devotion or something like that on
from
field
enchantments
from enchantments or something like that. Yeah. And that's it. And I am on like 3 life maximum.
Shout out to Ben for his 5 mana creature version of Stifle.
Yes.
The card Stifle.
Unbelievable. And I that game was, I think, in 2020. And I vividly remember that play.
Yeah.
To the point now where anytime Ben plays Kadena Slinking Sorcerer,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, don't Ixodron me again. Like, it's a running joke now.
It's such an amazing answer. It's the kind of, like in terms of narrow answers, which is what we're talking about here. Could you get much more narrow than
to
turn
remove
everything?
the devotion?
Well, and turning everything face down. Like, how much of the time? Like, keep in mind, let's say it was a reclamation stage on the stack. You can Ixodron. It's too late.
Yeah, the trigger's on the stack.
The trigger's on the stack.
It destroys the target enchantment.
You can't
or
do anything
artifact.
about that. Like, it's such a narrow percentage of the time that flipping the card upside down makes the ETB not work. But in this case, it just hosed you.
I would also like to point out that I genuinely believe that story was the moment I wanted to learn more about Magic rules
Really?
and go down the route of becoming a judge. Because Ben was like a great player and he'd been playing for many years before me.
Yeah.
And he was explaining how the trigger on the stack doesn't take. That's how he explained it to me. He was like, it doesn't take a picture of when it goes. It happens when it
checks,
resolves.
which is when it resolves. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want to be able to abuse the rules like that.
You were like, I want to Ixodron somebody. Yeah.
I'm going to start inclling Ixodron in my decks
You
now.
better.
Oh, with all Born Upon a Wind and Ixodron, surely
There you
we'll
go.
find a way to do it.
He's put it together. He's cooking now. I have a much. It's still a good story. It's not as exciting. It's not as narrow of an out, but you will recall, maybe some of you out there will recall as well, we did the Murders at Karlov Manor precons. We streamed a game between all of them. I was playing the Boros. It's the Nelly Borka, I think, accuser or something.
It suspects creatures
It
and goads
creatures
them.
and goads them. Yeah. So you're kind of goading stuff, and then you win at the end with some kind of other effect. Great precon. Was very fun to play. We was right down to the wire. I was at 29. Johnny,
I had been eliminated by
You were
this
eliminated.
point. I got so threatening so quick because of a coma.
Yep. Will was also eliminated at this point.
Yeah.
It was just me and Johnny. Johnny had removed my whole board. I was at 29.
Oh, I remember.
Do you remember
this
now? Yeah.
Yes. Holy shit.
I was at 29. Johnny had removed my entire board. And he's like, okay, I guess I should attack. He did not have lethal, but he was like, I'm just going to attack as much as I can. I'll kill you next turn. You've got no way to get out of this. Like, I had 2 mana open. He attacked for 29. He attacked for 19. I was at 29. I didn't block. For a red and a white,
Yes.
I cast the instant Deflecting Palm.
Yes.
On one of Johnny's creatures, basically Deflecting Palm, you choose a source effectively, and the next time it would deal damage to you, instead it deals that much damage to the source's controller. So in this case,
fully like you know the like kung fu masters that used your energy against you.
Exactly
It
right.
was fully one of those moments of like, for 2 mana, I punch you in the face for how much damage was it?
It was just like a 9/9, but he was at 1.
Yeah, it was
I just needed to get any of his creatures.
Incredible.
And he needed to not have over lethal. I would have died instead, right?
Yeah,
like
so you pick the biggest one so it doesn't deal damage to you.
But also I was importantly at 29. So I was safe
You were
regardless.
safe,
But
yeah.
I won the game off a Deflecting Palm that I left open that turn. And yeah, like Deflecting Palm, it only blanks one source. Like it's pretty bad at preventing...
like a board full of attackers coming at you.
If he had like an overrun effect, it would have done nothing. It would
Yeah.
not have saved me whatsoever. If someone casts, like, if there's like lots of instances of damage, if someone like storms a, what's the, no, not gut shot. Is it gut shot? What's the storm deal of
grape
damage?
shot.
Grape shot. Someone grape shots you.
Yeah.
Deflecting Palm stops 1, and then you take everything else. Like,
Yes.
there's lots of times where Deflecting Palm is bad, but sometimes someone sends a lot of damage at you, and they're at a low life total, and you just get to go, you did this to yourself.
The art, look at the art on that card. That's
beautiful.
how you feel when casting it.
Absolutely.
Like full on holding up a hand. And also like great play for you because I remember you like having a decision in that, like on that turn to hold up mana or not. And you were like, there's a world
where I Deflecting Palm
kill Johnny here.
Worth it. It was so much fun. In terms of recommending narrow answers to you, Kind of going to sound like a broken record now. I feel like this has been the lesson every single time, but don't go too narrow.
Yeah, don't go to the silver bullet length.
No.
That's I think where you can draw the line. The cards that shut down an entire deck strategy, like a Rest in Peace is the card we always point towards.
Yep.
Those cards aren't narrow.
No.
They're a silver bullet, but they're kind of like a silver bazooka bullet, I
Yeah.
guess. They will like absolutely nuke someone, and it's not fun for that player because it shut down their whole strategy. They didn't get to do anything.
Yeah, and look, I think in a similar vein, you can go too narrow by like choosing a narrow out that's just never going to be relevant. So for instance, like Final Act is the farewell.
This is the new 6 mana blackboard.
Yeah,
right?
it's like the farewell impression. It is nowhere near as good as farewell. But it basically can destroy all creatures. It can exile all graveyards. You choose one or more. The last line of text on this is each opponent loses all counters. It was printed into the Modern Horizons pre-cons.
energy.
It's for energy.
Yeah.
It would also importantly get rid of any experience counters someone has.
Could lock a
Going
Marin deck.
way back. Yep. Shut down Marin, shut down Mizzix, one of those cards from back then. But the percentage of time that it's relevant for you to remove your opponent's counters, not the counters on the creatures they control, the counters on the player, it's so rarely going to be relevant that like Final Act, I think, is in general worse than a bunch of other blackboard wipes out there because it's too narrow.
It's also 6 mana. For 6 mana, you want to be doing in black for a board wipe. You want to be doing better.
Even Deadly Tempest, I would almost rather have.
That
than
actually
Final
does
Act.
something.
Yeah, there's like other things that happen. And then, in black, for a little bit more mana, you could
Plague
cast...
Wind,
Yeah,
Garruk's.
Plague Wind, in Garruk's Wake.
Yeah.
Even the 8 mana one, I've been thinking putting this in the deck a few times. There's the one that cycles to give creatures -2.
Decree of Pain, yeah.
For 8 mana, you destroy all creatures and draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. I think I'd
Chuck
rather
a
pay 2
Necromantic
more.
Selection in your deck. Steal a commander.
Yep,
Just
7
be
mana.
that guy.
100%.
But look, I think when you're looking at cards to fill this role, I think you're looking for cards like Boros Charm.
Instant speed things that have multiple modes and sometimes do that really cool thing.
Can really blow someone out.
Yeah.
I would really, you chatted it out already. I really recommend going and checking out that Command Zone episode
Big time.
of the
Gotcha
Gotcha
cards.
Draft.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. And it's honestly very entertaining to watch Josh, Jimmy, and Rachel drafting that because they have very different ideas of what gotcha cards are. And I like it because I feel like they're the best 3 people to represent the entire spectrum of gotcha cards.
They've got really different approaches to how they play the game. I've really enjoyed all of their draft episodes. I think
they're really fun.
They're really interesting and you learn a lot because they're so different. You learn about how different people prioritize different things. The equipment draft was really good as well, for instance. This last one will make you happy. This last category of memorable stories, political deals.
Yeah, God, these make for good moments. You don't need a card for these.
No, you don't need one whatsoever, but it's the quintessential Commander experience, right? It's not card-based, it's player-based. If someone makes that right deal, they often just win the game, or they, at least come close. And sometimes people strike the exact right deal at the exact right time, and that's the really memorable stuff.
And that's also something so unique and special about Commander. You can't get this... Like, you can't play Pauper and have these memories.
No, doesn't happen.
It's impossible. You can't politic in Pauper. No. It's 1v1. You can't politic in Modern. Can't politic in a draft environment.
You have it or you don't. It's not about what deal you make with somebody. In fact, there's a lot of instances in competitive Magic where making a deal is illegal and will get you disqualified.
Yes.
Like making a deal for a certain prize or to agree to a certain prize is
or
illegal.
To draw around.
Yep,
is also,
you cannot do that.
Well, you can agree to draw. It's
very
wishy-washy and it depends on what competition level you're playing in.
But it's usually at least frowned upon. But in Commander, it's not only a given, it's encouraged. It's what the format's about.
Go check out. I'm going to shout out Attack on Cardboard's YouTube channel here. There's a great video on his channel.
Lying. He's got a video on lying. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. Yeah.
Look, I've got a great story to start us off with for political deals.
Yep.
And again, it's a Patreon game.
Uh-huh.
Just because every single Patreon game is friggin' incredible.
They're actually really good.
But this was our first ever Patreon game.
Oh.
You know the one I'm talking about? Yeah, cool.
Uh-huh.
So we played a Patreon game with Space Commander Fletcher for the first ever time, our first Space Commander. We were like, right, well, we don't really know what to expect in Patreon games. We've played against Fletcher a couple of times before. Let's just sit down and have a great game. So the pod was myself, Walt, obviously Fletcher, and then we had Cooper as well, which interestingly at the time was his return to Magic.
This was his first game back. He'd had a long hiatus where he did not play any Magic whatsoever, and this was his return to Magic with he was playing Kanji,
Yes.
which is the 5-mana Commander Legends legend. When it attacks, it gives your attacking flying creatures +2/+0, and when it blocks, it gives your blocking flying creatures +2. +0/+2. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a flyers
Makes
deck
your
in blue
attackers
white.
and blockers better in the air.
Yep.
It's a flying deck. It's
Yep.
really, really good. And look, he hadn't really upgraded this at all since Commander Masters. So, like, the deck was properly not upgraded at all. Anyway, there was a turn in which Stubbs was, and keep in mind, Stubbs is a great Magic player. And even after taking like a full year and a half, 2 years off,
he still knows how to win a game.
Still knows how to win a game. He was just in a position where he had the most controlling board, like so many flyers in the air. Right before his combat, he did the typical, like, counting on his fingers, pointing at cards and going, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How much do I
7,
have?
25.
Can I kill everybody?
And it basically came down to he could kill 2 players, but not 3.
He did not have enough damage to all of us, but
Yeah.
any of the other 2, he could kill.
And look, I think at the time, each of us were equally threatening to him.
Yep.
I think like
It was a pretty even board.
Fletcher was like in a position where he could win. Walt was in a position where he could get a win soon. So was I.
Yep.
So Fletcher just saw an opportunity, just saw his in. And immediately when Cooper said that he couldn't kill all of us this turn, Fletcher was just like, hey, Cooper, I've got a proposal for you. Basically, what was the specific wording that he used? Because it was like so exclusive. Like it was so
he knew exactly
specific.
what he was doing. He said, Cooper, if you don't kill me this turn, I won't deal any damage to you on my next turn.
That's right.
It wasn't even, I won't attack you. He said, I will not deal any damage to you on my next turn. And Fletcher was next in turn order.
And also, Cooper was like on a really low life total. He was like, he didn't want to swing out and then just die on the crackback to whoever he didn't kill.
12 or something like that. So this was a golden opportunity for Cooper. He was like, absolutely.
Amazing. I'm going to swing out, kill Walton James. Hooray, I've killed those 2. You're going to deal no damage to me on your turn. That means I get to untap and have blocks again. Like, I'm going to be okay.
And probably just attack in the air and kill you.
So he swung out. Walt and I died. We started going, oh, well, GG, Fletch, I don't know how you're going to get out of this one. And he's like, oh, I've got a plan. I'm like, okay, whatever. Started putting my cards back in. Stupid Patreon's beating us in our games all the time. Anyway, he did a couple of things on his turn. I think he cast like maybe 1 or 2 spells, Fletcher.
No, he didn't even get to his turn. It was on Cooper's end step.
I could have sworn it was in his upkeep on the next turn.
Oh, was it?
I can't remember.
I remember the deal was I'm not going to do anything on my next turn.
On
it was either on his end, on Cooper's end step.
The specific wording was, I won't deal damage to you on my next turn.
Yes.
And I think either on the end step of Cooper's turn or in the upkeep of his next turn, Fletcher cast Rakdos Charm.
Yep.
After Stubbs had developed this whopping board of flyers, I think he'd cast a Storm Herd just prior to that, where it'd make a Pegasus for every life he had.
15 1/1s in the air or something like that.
And if you're not familiar, Rakdos Charm deals 1 damage, or each creature target opponent controls deals 1 damage to them.
It's actually each creature on the board.
Oh yeah, it's also
you
your
can
board,
kill
doesn't it?
you can kill yourself with Rakdos Charm. But importantly, Cooper was at like 20 life, but he had like 25 fly.
More than. I think he ended up getting nuked for like
it was
35,
something crazy.
40,
but
something like that.
Fletcher did not deal any damage to Cooper on his turn, which was the deal, but he still won the game because he dealt a bunch of damage. And also, importantly, Fletcher did not deal any damage to Cooper, full stop.
No.
Rakdos Charm means the creatures deal that damage.
It was your own board, dude, not me.
You did this to yourself.
And also, I will say that whole scenario must have inspired the Space Commanders for one of our space battles, because we had a whole space battle about
political deals,
whether or not the fine print of a deal should be outlined,
or if it was the spirit of the deal instead, which was the position that I was arguing for. But regardless of how you stand on this, I think you have to admire Fletcher finding the perfect wording and the perfect opportunity to
but also
strike
it was
a deal.
So clever, because he did it in such a way of like, I won't deal any damage to you on my turn. And like usually now, after seeing that, when I hear someone say on my turn, I'm like, what? What's in that? What do you mean on your turn? That's a very specific way of wording that, Fletcher. What do you mean? But none of us noticed it. It flew so perfectly under the radar.
He knew what he was doing.
Beautiful wordsmith, amazing, and absolutely earned that win.
100%. Political deals, they were very memorable. And I have one last story for us, which was actually from the stream last Monday. Some of you will just remember straight away.
Yes.
It's like interesting. I'm calling it a political deal because the card forces you to make one.
If you are a player that's like, no, I don't engage in politics at Commander, you can't with this card.
James will make you. Because he cast and copied 3 times. Or there was 3 in total. So cast 2 copies of it. Prisoner's Dilemma. I'm not going to pull the card up. It won't help to explain.
It's an absolute paragraph of text.
Basically, every player chooses silence or they choose secrets.
Snitch.
Sorry. Snitch.
Silence or snitch.
That's right. And it replicates the prisoner's dilemma. So if everyone chooses silence, everyone chooses not to share, not to snitch, not to share the secret.
We go down together, boys.
Everyone goes down. They take 4 damage.
Each. That's it. That's all the spell does. It's 5 mana, deal 4 damage to each opponent.
However, if someone snitches and, say, 2 other people choose silence, then the 2 people who chose silence take 12 damage.
Which is a much better spell for 5 mana.
Yes. And then, of course, if everyone chooses snitch, everyone takes 8 damage.
Yeah.
So in other words, the perfect place you want to be here is either strike a deal so everyone takes the minimum amount of damage, which is silence. Everyone takes no more than 4. It can't happen if everyone chooses silence. However, if you're sneaky, you'll notice if you chose snitch and everyone else chose silence, you take no damage, and the people who chose silence take heaps more damage.
I would also like to point out, if you go onto the Gatherer website, like if you get this card up on Scryfall and look at the Gatherer rulings, there are specific rulings that say players can discuss before this spell's effect resolves and say they're going to do one thing
and not
do the other thing.
This is, again, the attack on cardboard is lying allowed to be done. This is a pretty explicit case of you can lie to someone in a case like this. It's in the rules. So, it's on the stack. James has cast Prisoner's Dilemma. There's 2 more copies.
I think it was Increasing Vengeance again.
Probably. It's a great card in the Savine deck. I was at 17. So it was very, very easy for me to die here. There was a lot of situations in which I die. We all start talking. There's an extended conversation that happens. You can go and check it out. It might even be up on YouTube by the time you go and check this episode out.
The chat was
suggesting a bunch of different things that could occur. Basically, Brad hopped in. Brad was on a bunch of life. He was super
in the lead.
lethal. He was comfortably in the lead. He, for whatever reason, struck a deal and he was like, guys, let's all choose silence every time. It took us a long while to believe him, but we were like, all right, I guess we can see what happens after each one resolves and whether we believe him or not. The first 2 copies resolve. So, and everyone chooses silence.
Yep.
So I took 8.
Each.
I'm at 9. Abe's taken 8. Brad has taken 8. I'm at 9 life. I, for whatever reason, realized at this point and stupidly talk about it.
Yeah, you should have shut the fuck up.
That at this point, if I chose silence and anyone else chose snitch, I would take 12 and die. So the only way I definitely live is if I snitch and go back on my promise to choose silence every time.
So Walt was effectively put in a position kind of like the trolley problem in ethics. Walt was put in a situation where he couldn't sit and ponder it and go, we'll never know because it'll never happen. Walt was in-game, on camera, live to an audience of people.
The trolley problem, but you're on the track.
Yes, you're the one lying on the track and there's 2 others on the other track and you can pull the lever. That was effectively what you were doing.
The other track just has the word lie on it. You liar. I chose to be silent and commit to my plan, and because I outlined the way in which I died, Brad chose snitch.
He just saw an opportunity and was just like, this is too good not to take. I'm gonna kill Walt.
I took 12 and died immediately on the stack.
Can I just say as well, by the way, we had a great, after we turned off the stream, we had a great chat with Brad after that, and Brad was like profusely apologizing to Walt. And there was no way Walt was taking it, but in the best way possible. Walt was like, no, you absolutely did the right thing. It was funny as hell.
That's the game, dude. The card asks you whether you wish to be that kind of a guy. The option is in front of you. You are silly not to take it in some instances.
For the rest of time, if you play against Bradley Gell,
just know he might flip that wasp card like he did on the stream and be a snitch. No, it was an unbelievably memorable game. I think there were people after the stream who said that was the one of the best games I've ever seen, like
It was
on
so
camera,
much
full
fun.
stop.
And
we
Brad-
had an absolute blast. It was hilarious to happen. Like,
Yeah, and Brad's like such a good friend of ours. He was absolutely in the right for doing it and just made it a great, funny experience. And also, something that Get Commanded's always trying to do is end games and bring games
he
to
did
a
it.
close. And
You
he
did it,
absolutely
Brad.
did that.
Yeah, absolutely did it. No, it was extremely memorable. And again, the perfect sort of political deal where you see the consequences of your actions played out in real time.
Yeah.
Very fun. I think if we're talking about recommendations for making games memorable with politics, it's, again, the same thing again. Don't over-politic.
Yeah, you have to find the balance, don't you?
You've got to find the time when a deal is good. Like, you should make deals, obviously, that work for you, but also the ones that work for your opponent in some cases. Like, you find the way that you win and they win. And, in your head, you win more than they do. That's the nature of the thing.
Yep.
That's fine. But find those opportunities and use them, but don't don't manufacture them. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to force everyone into this political deal right now.
I also think, as just someone that's played a lot of politics in Commander games in general and had made memorable moments as a result of my political deals.
Definitely.
Honestly, it's the KISS method. Have you ever heard of the KISS method? KISS?
Yeah, are we going to do it right now? Is that the 100th episode?
The tension in the room is palpable.
I'll call a lecturer right now.
Okay, just make
Lecture,
sure.
how do you-
Yeah, it's fine. No.
The KISS method.
That was a long silence. We'll let all the listeners think about what just happened.
No.
KISS method,
KISS
right?
method.
It's a really kind of you can apply this to a lot of different parts in life. KISS.
Yeah.
Stands for keep it simple, stupid.
Oh, yes. Okay. No, I am familiar with the KISS method
Yes.
now that you say that.
Honestly, it just makes for easier to understand politics, which generally more people engage in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of more of a 50-50 coin flip. So when it happens, it's like, whoa, that was really cool. Well done. I can explain that story to someone else. Like in that story that you just told, it was two choices. You could either snitch or be silent,
Yes.
right? Each player had the two choices. So there's technically 3 choices of 6 possible outcomes. Statistics. Anyway, but you know what I mean? Keep it simple. Either this or that. Not okay, I'm going to pull out a document and make 20 terms and conditions for you to read and sign.
No, you keep it simple and focus on, the deals that actually move the game forwards.
Yeah.
That's what I mean about choosing
Bring
the
it to
opportunity.
an end.
Yeah. Choose the deal that actually makes it so that the game is moving towards an end point. A lot of people, I think, start feeling bad and politic when they're winning and go oh, I won't blow that up if you don't attack me next turn. It's you don't need to make a deal, so probably don't.
Yeah, and also just deals that I think deals that are for pure self-preservation make sense because you either die or you don't.
Yeah,
and
you must make a deal.
You must make a deal there. But if you're trying to self-preserve in a situation where you're not dying, it's kind of not worth it.
Yeah.
Make deals to better your chances of winning, not better your chances of not dying.
Yeah.
That's probably as simple as I can make it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Look, I've played so many games of Commander and somehow I'm still finding new ways to have fun. I don't think I'll ever run out of things to say about the best game in the world, which is Magic the Gathering, and certainly not the best way to play it, which is Commander. So here's to 100 more times sharing this format with every one of you out there.
I play so much Commander. Sometimes it all blurs into one, but sometimes special moments stick out. Impressive plays, awesome opponents, or brilliant brews. It shocks me that even after that many games that I've played over my even short time compared to some people playing this game, I still want more. I want more of the fun, more of the conversation, and I am so excited to sit here with my best mate and share it all with you guys. So,
Space Commanders, Command 100 received.
Damn,
Nice.
100. High five,
100.
dude. That was
Hell yeah.
actually... This is monumental. We did it.
I can't believe it.
100 commands.
For every card in your Commander deck, there is an episode of this podcast.
And if you're playing a companion, tune in next week.
For the companion episode?
Hey, but the meteor.
Yeah, we got to find out what the hell that's about. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, to you listeners, do you feel commanded? What are some of your most memorable moments playing Commander? And we have to ask, what's been your favorite episode in our first 100 of them.
And if you say episode 1, we know you're a real OG.
And a liar. That was a bad episode of the
That was a
podcast.
terrible episode of the podcast. But look, tell us. We really genuinely want to know. Tell us what your favorite episode is. We'll endeavor to make more like that with the Space Commanders. You can tell us on your social platform of choice at Get Commanded on all of them, which, by the way, you need to be following to enter our competition. You can join our Discord as well, which is what you also have to do to join our competition. But the best way to talk to us is live on our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/getcommanded, and you can watch some amazing plays like that Prisoner's Dilemma happen. Can't promise it every week, but it happens frequently.
It does, and you want to be there for it, and especially be there live. 7 o'clock on a Monday, but if you can't be there live, we'll be uploaded on YouTube as well. Get Commanded over there as well. We would be lost, and certainly not, I don't think, at 100 episodes without our patrons over on Patreon. It's linked in the show notes if you'd like to support the Get Commanded podcast. It's the absolute best way to continue to let us make great content for all of you. We'd like to thank our patrons, Fuzzy, Bottomless Potamus, Dyer, Dylan Norg, Bertie, Crazy Logic, and Benjamin. And an extra special shout out to Fletcher Cutting and Wizard Down Under, who support us in the Space Commander tier. You're the best.
You are the best, and also the best. Palms Off Gaming, some real OGs of Get Commanded. These guys sponsored us when we had no idea what like a podcast host was.
Yes.
We were looking into it, and they were like, we can help you pay for that and get you on your...
Yeah.
They gave us the leg up, so huge shout out to Palms Off Gaming for sponsoring us for this long. If you aren't aware of Palms Off Gaming stuff, why the hell aren't you?
Yep.
They are some of the best TCG accessories manufacturers out there. They're making incredible stuff.
Including a bunch of the stuff that'll be given away to all of you.
Including that awesome limited edition binder, which is just so
good.
beautiful. Honestly, felt horrible being like, yeah, we can give that away. I'm not going to keep it. You can go to palmsoffgaming.com.au /#getcommanded to check out their full range, and you can get 10% off your purchase when you use that link, and it supports us at the same time. So palmsoffgaming.com.au /#getcommanded, deck boxes, sleeves, binders, accessories, go there for all of them.
Everything you need. Okay, that's 100 episodes worth of Magic, and another time we need 2 Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Outside of Commander, outside of Magic, I think it's my turn.
It is. What you been up to?
Earlier today, at the time of recording this episode,
I know what you're going to talk about now.
Yeah,
Cool.
I attended a panel featuring a very good friend of both me and James. Natalie Williams is a awesome writer based here in Melbourne, Nam.
A superstar.
Absolute superstar. Cannot stop that person. And you would not even want to try. And they were on a panel talking about, they were with the organization Arts Access Victoria, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's talking about accessibility and the arts and specifically in the state of Victoria, which is where we are. And yeah, it was really lovely to see Natalie in their element talking about access.
On a panel.
Yeah, on a panel, being asked questions about the work they did. For reference, she, with a group of people, wrote a manifesto for...
Really?
Yeah, for specifically young deaf and disabled artists, basically. Like, this is what the arts should look like for communities like ours.
Wow,
I think
great.
is the vibe I got. I don't understand completely. The manifesto is not out yet, but they were talking about how they put it together, basically, and the kinds of things they were looking at. Really, really interesting. I wanted to talk about, actually, specifically about this event. It was great to be there. How great accessibility is and how much accessibility helps everyone. Just to give you an idea of like what they had here, the lighting in the room was a really lovely, soft, warm, yellow lighting. Really great for people who get sensory overload to have soft and especially yellow, warm lighting.
Yeah, fluorescent lighting.
Yeah, not good for anybody. Would you believe it?
I'm not even someone that suffers with sensory issues.
No, and I'll still...
Fucks it.
Yep.
Like fluorescent lighting, I hate it.
Choose a lamp every day of the week. But yeah, they had this soft lighting. There were 2 Auslan interpreters who were rotating through so that they could have a little rest. It's,
great. One of my mates is an Auslan interpreter.
Yeah,
and she's
Australian Sign Language, by the way, if that wasn't clear. Yeah.
Yeah, Auslan, interestingly, there is different dialects of sign language around the world because
there's
it's
American
developed.
Sign Language and British Sign Language, and
It's incredible. One of my friends is an Auslan interpreter, and she does a lot of that work.
It's a really, really, it's great. I'll get into it, but I found it a bit distracting because it's so interesting watching them do it.
Yeah.
You're like, what is the? What,
I took an
what is
Auslan
that
course.
word? And,
I know.
You know a few, don't you?
I know how to get through a basic conversation in Auslan.
It's cool. It's a great skill set to have. I definitely want to explore it as well. But they had Auslan interpreters. They had this soft lighting. It was a hybrid event, so it was being streamed online for people who wanted to watch from home.
Awesome.
They had a whole room for people to what is a word they call it? I'm really forgetting. It's like a lower sensory kind of place.
Like a sensory deprivation area.
It's not deprivation, but it's like lower sensory. I'm forgetting the word, but
sure.
Basically an area where you could
less overstimulating.
Less stimulating environment. There were earplugs in there. There were a bunch of bean bags on the floor.
Oh, where the fuck was I?
It was just like, to be honest, their prompting of being like, it was a relaxed event. That was the big thing. A relaxed event. We do them at my workplace as well in theater shows. Relaxed events basically mean that they explicitly tell you are welcome to stim, you are welcome to move about, you are welcome to basically be in any way that you need or want to be in this environment.
Unmasked, effectively.
And you are welcome in this environment
That's
to
fantastic.
do that. I just think that they're absolutely beautiful events to go to. And yeah, as a result, I am not someone who has particular accessibility requirements, or it's not something that I think about consciously at least. I was struggling a bit to follow. I really was trying to listen, and I found the Auslan so captivating. I just kept looking at the Auslan. I just shut my eyes for the entire of the panel so I could just listen.
Just listen to it. And
it's something I've done before occasionally in theater shows. A lecturer was like to me, I thought maybe you were hating it, because usually when you hate a theater show, you close your eyes. It was not that. It was absolutely not that. It was the fact that because I was in this environment where so many things were welcome and accepted and encouraged.
You didn't feel rude to do something like that, so you personally could focus on what you wanted to focus on, which is the content. Exactly. And I think it's such a great thing. And it was something that was spoken about on the panel, that they were talking about the way that, basically accessibility helps everyone. Like even if you are someone who thinks to yourself, I don't have accessibility requirements. I'm neurotypical. I'm fine in all these different situations. I don't have any requirements I need. I'm fine. Why should I worry about this stuff? It's like, even anyone like that can benefit from these environments because you're given the option of being accommodated to. Well, I mean, everyone calls these disabilities, if you want to call them disabilities, non-neurotypical behaviors as like a spectrum, right? Yeah, exactly. People experience different things and might be affected by different things in different ways. Yeah. Every one of us falls on that spectrum, right? Like if you think about it like a spectrum, then technically all of us are on it. Yeah. And I think that I was really upset that I couldn't go to this panel because I was working. I was invited and I really did want to go, but bloody work. I think that kind of thing, the fact that it's special is not good enough. It needs to be more, like that needs to happen more often. Yeah. So those events are happening all the time where we don't think it's special and we just take into consideration people with non-neurotypical tendencies to be comfortable and access things like art and culture and stuff that is sometimes pretty prohibitive in like its display. Like, some of these and look, granted, some of the places you can see theater in are heritage buildings with not great accessibility access and stuff like that. To change those things. But for reference, I work in a building that has heritage listing and they're still pulling up all the seating and changing all of the aisles so that we can accommodate people who are attending in wheelchairs. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can be done. It's important to keep, the buildings and stuff like that, and we need to keep the culture alive and stuff like that. But it is even more important to make sure that the people and all people can see the art and the culture. And I think that's hearing there's a whole group of people that includes Nat as well, a very close friend. I put a lot of faith in Nat and a lot of different things. Yeah. Knowing that she's a part of that makes me very proud. Yeah. It was great to see her in her element, and just specifically to just be like, oh man, the fact that these things happen means we're going in the right direction. Yeah. It's a really great thing. Well, that's all we have time for, so we'll see you next Friday for another transmission from the Space Commanders. Goodbye, Commander players. Bye.